Hello tanks and tankettes, and welcome to a viewer replay, a most surprising viewer replay, because it's somebody that's going to do well in a T14. In fact, what if I told you that not only is there no spoon, but you're going to see slartibartfart here get almost 2000 base XP in this very tier 6 game in a T14. Now the matchmaking is kind of funny in this one. His team has an OI platoon, the enemy team has a tier 4 platoon who got absolutely shafted by the matchmaker. The matchmaker didn't even bother using lube. That's how shafted they got. So although slartibartfart's team has far fewer tier 6s, they also don't get the OI platoon. They do have one OI though, and they've also got a KV2 as well. However, the OIs, surprisingly, given that this is a very up-to-date game, this is a tier 6 game, the OIs are completely irrelevant to the outcome of this match. And you're going to see why. Now the T14 itself, slartibartfart, can't even say his name properly. Slartibartfart, no, that's not even it, he's slartibartfart, there we go. Was it slartibartfart the name of the character? I can't remember. It's almost but not quite the name of the character from the Hitchhiker's Guide. But yeah, he jokingly said in his email, "Oh my god, T14, best tank ever." I think he was maybe being slightly facetious. It's got the lovely double whammy of having low penetration and low accuracy. And it's not a derp gun. It's definitely not a derp gun. In fact, this is basically the same gun that the Lee has at tier 5. Now that's a pretty good gun on a tier 4 medium tank. On a tier 5 heavy tank, not so much. And you're going to get to see some of that incredibly derpy accuracy in action in this game. And he's actually bouncing some of these, like that's the side of a tier 4 tank. And he can't pen it. It does, however, have one thing going for it. 10 degrees of gun depression most of the way around the tank. And of course, that's going to help his turret armor. That's going to help his effective armor thickness, especially around the gun mantlet. So I think, and this is pure speculation on my part, I think just based on the fact that there was no artillery, based on the fact that his team had this OI platoon that were doing the right thing in that they were going to the town, he decided he was going to come to a position where he could use that gun depression, put it to the test, put the turret to the test. But it's rapidly becoming apparent quite how derpy the enemy team is. Take a look at the minimap right now. See where his team is. See how many tanks the enemy team has lost. They've lost 2 tanks. Now, I think 3 tanks in the valley. Or no, the Hellcat that was on the other side got killed. Okay, 2 tanks in the valley and the Hellcat. The entire enemy team was in less than a quarter of the map. Most of them didn't leave their base, and the rest all piled into the valley. So this is an enemy lemming train that then just completely got held up by a couple of tier 5s, and I guess the SU-100Ys are back here as well. But it does seem to be slartibartfart that's doing the lion's share of the damage here. He's racked up now 1800 damage, which is not bad considering the nature of this gun. In fact, that's probably already better than any game I've had myself in the T14. I have the misfortune of owning this thing. I will say this and the Excelsior, which has exactly the same gun with exactly the same issues. That was the gun these tanks had. They both reached the prototype stage. They both had that gun. It's just, unfortunately, the rest of the stats around the gun are a bit terrible. And it's not even that less than 100 pen is completely unworkable on a limited matchmaking tank. The KV220, you know, copes with having, I think, 97, 98 average pen, or is it 99, I think? It's just under 100. And it doesn't sound like a lot of difference between 92 and 99, but it does make a big difference. Now he's taken some hits from probably the nastiest gun that's actually fired at him yet, the 85mm on the T34-85. He does now have a problem with his own gun at this point, and the Panzer IV is, well, it's not the most well-armoured tank, but it helps if you can hit it. So that was 1 in the ground, 2 in the ground. Okay, this is most of the... Oh, no, 3 in the ground. Okay, takes a hit. That one hit, at least hit, but it bounced. And this is premium ammo by this point, by the way, because slartibartfart knows well enough that that thing doesn't have great armor, but it has enough armor to resist what is essentially a tier 4 gun. So, yeah, even the premium rounds were bouncing. And, of course, the angling of the Jagdpanzer IV's got something to do with it as well. But it doesn't help when your shots repeatedly just derp into the ground. And that's that .44. In fact, it's even .44. It's probably something like .45 or .46. It's .44 if you have 100% crew. And obviously things like ventilation and Brothers in Arms will help that. Food consumable will help that, although obviously Slartibartfart's not... I said it right. Is not using the food consumable, but still, when you get that kind of terrible RNG all in a row, it's not a reliable gun at all. And that is, if it had the same pen, but the gun was much more accurate, and the same for the Excelsior, then I think they'd be much less disparaged than they are. But as it is, yeah, this is his premium ammo. There we go, low front plate, finally takes the guy. Good grief, that was a lot of shells in the ground, and a lot of shells that have just missed completely, even at relatively close quarters. Hell, that Jagdpanzer IV was practically in his face, and it was still missing. Some of those shots were ridiculous. And there we go, he actually gets that final kill. So that was maybe slightly ridiculous in its own way, but 7 kills. Over 3,000 damage in a tier 6 game, a very tier 6 game. I don't know what to say. Play enough World of Tanks and even the miracles can happen. So that was what? Ace Mastery, Cool-Headed, Spartan, Steel Wall, High Caliber, and a Top Gun. Just shy of 2,000 base XP. He had literally almost double. In fact, is that slightly over double? Maybe slightly under double? I can't really do it in my head, but the next best person on his team. Like, that was crazy. And it was all because the enemy team just face planted so hard. They all funneled into the valley and then just sat there, and it was such easy pickings. And then you can see that accuracy, 66 shots fired, 44 hits, 33 pens. So half of the shots fired didn't even, you know, of the ones that hit, it was what, a third that actually, no, 2/3 that did damage, but of half the overall shots didn't even connect. So, yeah. Or am I just talking nonsense? No, something like 2/3 of the shots did connect, and then 2/3 of those... I don't know. Anyway, I shouldn't do numbers in my head at all, ever. But, yeah, still, that's a thing that I don't think I've ever seen before. Quite to that degree. I mean, I've seen some derpitude on Lakeville, but to take advantage of it quite so thoroughly in a T14 of all tanks... I don't know. Anyway, crazy things happen sometimes, and then they end up on YouTube, and people watch it and are entertained, hopefully. So, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that line of thought. Hopefully you have been entertained, though, and if you have, you can leave any comments below. You can hit the like button, you can sub if you aren't already, and, as always, stay tuned for more.